fighting ISIS, claiming their hands are tied behind the Pentagon's micromanaging. Former Army helicopter pilot and combat veteran from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Amber Smith, joins us. Good evening.
Hi, Greta.
So tell me, what is this complaint that these pilots have about the micromanaging of by the Pentagon?
Well, it's the result of an extremely restrictive rules of engagement. So basically, when these pilots find a target, they find ISIS, they have a clear target, they have a positive target ID, every procedure is in place. They then, instead of being able to pull the trigger when they meet all of the criteria, they then have to call up their commander, their boss, so to speak, who then has to call up their boss, who then calls up their boss, and so on and so on. And it is so micromanaged that these very time-sensitive targets, by the time they get back to them with any sort of an answer, the opportunity is lost.
All right, you were a combat helicopter pilot for 8 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. What were your terms in terms of how is it different from when you were piloting a helicopter in combat and the rules now?
Well, I served in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan under the Bush administration, so I've never had to serve in combat under the Obama administration rules of engagement. But for us, it was very cut and dry. You have to make split-second decisions that have life and death consequences. The last thing you need to be thinking about before pulling that trigger is legalities and political correctness. You need to make sure you're within the ROE, which includes a positive target identification, hostile intent, or hostile action, and then you need to ensure that all friendlies are clear of your weapon systems, and then you are the final approval for that weapon release authority. And so we were very effective at accomplishing our mission that way. We felt as though our chain of command trusted us back then to make those decisions. That's what our job is to do.
Is it different? I mean, is it significantly different that when you were flying combat missions, those 8 years, is that there were more boots on the ground to help you identify targets, tell you whether or not civilians were in the area? I mean, the fact that we don't have those boots on the ground aiding our pilots now, is that a significant difference?
Well, we flew significantly lower than any of these fighter jets are flying. So we can basically find our own PID, or positive identification of the enemy. So we have that in a helicopter, where in a fighter aircraft you might not, and that's why you need JTACs, the Joint Terminal Attack Controllers, and these forward air controllers on the ground with Special Operation Forces, so they can call those fighter jets and get that positive target identification for them, so they can minimize collateral damage and ensure rounds on target, essentially. You know, it's a little bit, there are the optics and the equipment available in these fighter jets, but it makes it that much safer on both ends, on the pilot end and the ground guy, having that effective air-to-ground communication.
All right, how long, do you have any information how long it takes now to get sort of permission to hit a target, and maybe even compare it to when you were flying helicopters? Back when I was flying helicopters, it was, you know, things happen very, very quickly, and you don't have time to sit and wait. The opportunity is lost. And now, from people that I've talked to, if it is not a pre-planned target, I talked to an F-18 pilot today. If it is not a pre-planned target, as in it's been in the works for going after whatever target it might be, it can definitely take over that hour that we've been hearing about, which is lost. So if they find a target of opportunity, and you know, they go through all of those procedures and they are cleared to fire from everything that's going on in the cockpit, and then they need a decision outside the cockpit. I mean, why are we attempting to fight in a war where our pilots' hands are tied behind their back and they can't do their job? Amber Smith, thank you very much, and of course, as well, thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thanks, Greta.